Hello everyone, I'm Cosmic and today we're going to be taking a look at State of Decay, a third-person open-world zombie survival game developed by Undead Labs and published by Microsoft Studios. State of Decay originally was released solely back on the 360 in June 2013, available via digital download from the Xbox Live Arcade store. In November 2013 the game had its official release on PC via the Steam platform, having been on Steam Early Access in the months prior. State of Decay's developers, Undead Labs, are a Seattle-based game studio founded in 2009 by ex-Blizzard employee Jeff Strain. State of Decay is also the studio's first ever release, and they are now moving on to develop a zombie survival MMO codenamed Class 4. State of Decay's core strengths lay within the actual gameplay itself. It's clear early on in the game that Undead Labs wanted to ensure the game had a solid framework rather than just focusing on the cosmetic appeal of the genre. At its core, State of Decay is a survival game. I'll talk a little bit more about the game's story later in the video, but needless to say, you start the game and find yourself in the middle of the most unpleasant of zombie apocalypses. Stealth is key to survival in State of Decay, and the game provides a variety of mechanics for you to utilise to make sure that you don't find yourself surrounded by the undead hordes. Your bog standard zombie in State of Decay isn't the sharpest tool in the shed. Their eyesight is very poor, and out of sight really is out of mind. The enemies do have an acute sense of hearing, however. The game visually feedbacks how much noise you are making at any time, whether you're searching through cupboards or breaking down locked doors. It's best to be as quiet as possible, or you literally will have the unwashed masses at your front door in no time. Throughout the game, it is often easier to kill the standard zombie by stealth kills or building yourself some very fine traps. Though noise is your worst enemy, it can also be your greatest ally. Creating distractions with a variety of tools can be a great way of getting out a particularly sticky situation. One of the great things about State of Decay is that it's not just you versus the world. There are a lot of survivors out there, and you'll eventually get to become part of a survivor community. Your community has its own base and a number of people, and both of these things will require attention. Let's start with the bases. There are a number of locations in the game world that can be used as a base. You can only have one base at a time, however, and each base location varies in size, and that is important because as your community grows, so too will the need for beds and space. Bases can be upgraded in a variety of ways, from having self-sustaining food gardens to pimped out guard towers. Choosing what you need is really crucial, as space is limited and you really need to prioritise on what you need at that time. Upgrading your defences and keeping your base well stocked with and guarded is really important too. Bases will get attacked frequently, and they can be overrun, and people can and will die. The survivors at your base will also need attention too. They need food, medical supplies and ammunition. Each survivor in your community has needs and desires. You won't please everyone, but it is somewhat at least beneficial to try. Each survivor has an affection rating towards you, and once you become friends with a survivor, that character becomes a player character, meaning you can switch between characters at any time. Especially useful when one becomes too fatigued to be any good in the field. The survivors in your community can be used to go out on computer-controlled scavenging runs, as well as used as NPC companions to take out with you. Survivors have their own stories and ongoing lives. Occasionally they will ask you to do something for them, whether it be to deal with a particularly annoying zombie or a more side quest-esque personal mission. Doing these side quests for your survivors improves your relationship with them, and this is the way you will eventually be able to control them yourself as playable characters. Other survivor communities populate the landscape too. You can interact with these in a variety of ways, such as doing missions for them to trading. Trading in State of Decay works off an influence system. Every time you do missions, kill zombies, etc, etc, you earn influence points. These influence points can then be used to purchase ammo, weapons and supplies from survivor communities as well as your own. You also need influence points to upgrade your base structures, as well as a variety of scavenged resources. Sometimes you may even have the option to add some survivor communities to your own, but beware, things might get a bit cramped if you don't have the space, and NPCs can have fallouts with each other, very Walking Dead style. One thing I really do like about the game, being an RPG lover, is in its RPG elements. Each player character has 4 base skills: cardio, wits, fighting and shooting. On top of that, each individual character has a set of personal skills and personal traits. Take the fighting skill for example. This skill covers melee fighting and overall hit points. By using melee weapons on a character a lot of the time, this skill will start to increase and unlock more stat bonuses. By doing certain actions a lot with certain characters, this may also unlock personal traits. These traits add stat bonuses to the individual too. For example, if you have a character that you use to scavenge a lot, you may develop a personal trait that adds a reduction to the time it takes to scavenge for resources. The game world itself is pretty extensive for a smaller title. You have around 8 square kilometers of playable area to go and explore at your will. The world ranges from very American Midwest countryside to more urbanized areas. The game also features dynamic progression, meaning even when you're not playing, the world is still changing. After all, just because you're sleeping doesn't mean those zombies are. It's important to leave your bases well stocked before you leave the game, or you may load up next time to find an abandoned base with lots of bodies lying around. There's a good enemy variety in the game to boot. Not all zombies are brain dead walkers. There's a number of special zombies which are more of a challenge to take down. In some cases when facing specials it can be better to run to live to fight another day, especially if you're low on ammunition and facing the Hulk-esque beast known as Juggernauts. An interesting mechanic for the enemies in the game is the horde mechanic. If several average zombies converge in one area, they will start to attract others and a horde will form. These hordes can be very dangerous and are not to be taken on directly. It's best to ensure that the zombies around your base are as scattered as possible and keep that population down. Graphically, while the State of Decay is an eye-pleasing game in most respects, it does suffer from a bit of diamond in the rough syndrome. The game features regular FPS drops, terrain clipping and more. But even with its cosmetic issues, it never loses that immersive feel. And because the core gameplay is so good, you actually end up forgiving its shortcomings. The game does do a good job in the sound department too. Cracking zombies' heads with baseball bats sounds as grim as you would expect it to, so it's certainly not lacking in aesthetic, and at the end of the day it is quite a small indie title, and graphically it's still quite impressive for what it is. Now let's talk story. The game starts you off as Marcus with your friend Ed coming back from a fishing trip in the mountain lakes. Once you get back, you quickly realise that all those 1980s horror movies have come true, and you set off on your journey to find out what exactly is going on and how to get the hell out of here. While I don't want to spoil the game's story, there are some interesting plot mechanics that I do want to mention. Specifically, that certain story events can be missed if you ignore them too long. Spend too long wandering the world looking for supplies and some events can be missed and things will change. Not only this, but certain story events can change the world around you, making survival increasingly difficult for you and your newfound survivor community. The story really has a great ominous feel about it, like you're never getting told the full story by the authorities, everything is half-truths or lies of omission. The characters you meet are just fantastic. Undead Labs have done a really good job in making even random characters who join your community feel unique and engaging. I find myself really caring for these characters and what happens to them, which is always, at the end of the day, always what I look for in a game. I want something that is interactive and makes me care about what's going on. Even more recently, the new downloadable content Breakdown has been released. Breakdown is a true sandbox mode, stripping the game of its main story, allowing you to embark on a seamlessly never-ending quest for survival. In all, Undead Labs have succeeded in creating one of the most enjoyable zombie survival games of recent years. The mix of solid mechanics, engaging characters and open world survival is a breath of fresh air in a genre where we seem to get a boat ton of below par games thrown at us non-stop. State of Decay is a must for any zombie survival fan, and while it's by no means perfect, for their first game and for the price of the title, you more than get your money's worth here. I for one am looking with great curiosity at Undead Labs' future project Class 4 and cannot wait to see what they come up with. State of Decay is available now on Steam for £14.99, which is around $20 in the US, and the Breakdown DLC is around £4.99, around $10 in the US. You can also pick up the game on Xbox Live Arcade if you prefer the 360 version. And that's all for me, so thank you so much for watching and listening. Do like, subscribe and leave a comment, and I will see you next time.